Good morning, y'all. It's Cody. Cody's Bait and Tackle, Warsaw, Missouri. So, like 2 years ago, I did a video on slip cork fishing down below the dam, uh, how to rig it up, basically everything you needed to know on that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that today. This is going to be a little bit of a different video here. Usually my videos are information on fishing Truman or Lake of the Ozarks by boat. Right now everything's pretty well iced up except for down below the dam, so that gives me a good reason to do a video just for guys bank fishing. I've had a lot of people this winter come in ask about slip cork fishing. They had seen my video in the past, never paid much attention to it. Most of you guys know I grew up down below the dam on the rocks. From the time I was big enough to walk, I was in them rocks fishing, in the docks, in the dead water, the harbor. Ton of crappie in the harbor at times. You can slip cork fish it. It's a lot shallower. Most of the time down there, you're only going to be fishing like 3 to 8 foot deep at the most. Down below the dam, you know, I've slip cork fished up to 16, 17 foot deep. In the dead water, I've slip corked up to 18 foot. So, number one thing is a rod. Rod is very important if you're going to try to catch some deeper fish like that. You've got to have a rod long enough you can set that hook on it and get the hook set. So when you're bobber fishing, your line's going out to the bobber and then it's going down. If you've got like a 6 or 7 foot rod, you're never going to hardly ever hook them deep fish. You got to have an 8 to a 10. We do have a few options on that in the shop. I'm not going to get into that today. If you guys are interested, come in the shop, talk to me, talk to Jessica. She knows just as much as I do on that pretty well. This spring, when everything kind of kicks off down there, we should have several more options of them rods. You need the big casting eyes so you can get way out there. Really, the main thing, sensitivity ain't a must on a slip cork fishing rod, as long as your bobber's rigged right. So if you're using a store-bought bobber, you're running the line down through it, it's laying on its side like that, yeah, you're going to have a more sensitive rod. I'm going to show you how to rig one up the way I've done it since I was a kid. You can see any movement at all on my slip corks. I've got a bunch made up here in the shop just kind of so people can see it. If you want one, I'll sell some, but it's super simple to rig up. So I'm going to get into that first. A lot of you guys that have fished this last 2 years through the drought know our water's been super clear. So I would run a fluorocarbon, and I'm talking whether you're walleye fishing, white bass fishing, hybrid fishing, crappie fishing, I would run some kind of a fluorocarbon leader. I'm not crazy about the colored line. I know a lot of people are. Now they got some colored fluorocarbons. I honestly don't know. I have not fished down there enough to know how well they work. I do sell a lot of them. I'm guessing they work just as good as the clear fluorocarbon, but if I was going to walleye fish, it's a super sight sensitive fish, like a walleye or hybrid, I'm going to run the clear fluorocarbon. Crappie, I'd probably run the colored. I've actually got a piece of colored fluorocarbon. I'm going to show you guys how to rig this up. This is my cord. So I like mine bigger than just the regular float. That way, if I want to get way out there, I can put split shot on there and make that weigh as much as I want to. So you guys see this? This is actually one of my floats. You got a little snap swivel. Now if it's me, that little bitty eye right there, I pinch that shut halfway and run dental floss for my stop. I'll kind of show you guys how to do that. It's got to be waxed dental floss for it to work right. That way it don't mess up your line. That's kind of one that'll be easier to show you in the shop. On the video, it's not going to be easy to do. So, y'all see them marks? Most crappie that hit A big crappie, 99% of the time, all they're going to do is raise that cork up like that, and then it's going to drop right back down. If you can't tell that cork raised up 1/4 of an inch, you're not going to catch your fish. I've had numerous people stand right beside me slip cork fishing. I'll tell them you got bit, they will never know it. I'll catch 5 fish to every one of theirs just because I can't see the bite. The point of the snap swivel, instead of running through the float, if you run through the float, your bobber's going to set like that in the water. So the point of that is so that sets perfectly straight in the water. The only time it'll tilt is when a wave hits it. So, and I do, when I wind real slow the whole time it's out there, and I just twitch it ever so often. You'll see that twitch, and you'll know when it raises up or drops down just a hair. Very few crappie are actually going to hit hard enough to take that big float under. You'll have a few do it, not many. White bass, they'll just bury it. If you do hit a catfish on a jig, they'll bury it. Buffalo, every year you're slip cork fishing or tight lining down below the dam, you're going to catch a buffalo. They'll just bury it and take off like crazy. So, first of all, I'm going to show you guys kind of the easiest way. This is just with the string, the little cheap string knots. I do not like these. I actually never used these as a kid, just because they catch on the eyes of your rod really bad. If you're rigged up at the harbor or in a pond, somewhere you're fishing shallower, these are great. If you only got 5 to 8 foot of line out, they're awesome. They're quick, they slide real easy, don't mess your line up at all. Basically, they're all you need. If you're fishing deep enough, your knot's all the way down in your reel. That knot's got to go through all the eyes of the rod. These are going to catch. The dental floss, it's going to go right on through. You'll never hardly know it goes through. And like I said, I'll show you guys how to do that real quick. But to get it right, you'll probably have to come in the shop and talk to me. Jessica, she's done it before, but she's not real good at showing people on some of that. So you're better off to come in here when I'm in here. I've got to where I try to post when I'm going to be in the shop. Like today, lake's iced up. I can't be on the water fishing. So I get a ton of people look at these, say, I've never used one. What do I do? So basically, you got a little tube. You got a bead. If you run a regular slip cork, run it through. Or if you run this one with the swivel in it, you need the bead. If you pinch the eye of that swivel shut like I do, you don't need that. So what you're going to do, you're going to run your line through the little tube. Just like that. You're going to pull your string off there, throw the tube away. Okay? Don't need it. So, there's your string stop. This will slide up and down your line wherever you want it to go. Slides real easy. This is braid. I'm using it. My slip cork rod's got real clear mono on it. You guys wouldn't be able to see it. So I'm going to run that braid. So, put your string knot on there. Put your little bitty bead on there. That bead will stop on this swivel, guaranteed, and it will go right up and down your line. Like I said, if you want to pinch it shut and run the dental floss, it goes a whole lot smoother through a long rod. This rod I'm using, it's just a short rod. I just grabbed something. It's actually one of my white bass and hybrid rods for fishing up on the lake. It's got 15-pound braid on it. I have slip cork fished with braid. It works really good, as long as you don't have a lot of wind. it does really good, and you can, if you're running a sensitive enough rod, you can feel some of the bites. So I'm just gonna, I don't know if you guys seen that or not, I doubled that line up when I tied my knot on that braid. A lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't do it. I always double my line on a braid knot. It makes it a whole lot stronger. Some of you guys that run braid know a lot of knots slip. You got to run some different knots. I'm just going to cut them little pigtails off there. So, pretty well. There's your slip cork rig, y'all. Like that. Slides right up and down the line to the stop. Like I said, my choice on fluorocarbon for sight sensitive fish, always going to be seaguar. Walleye fishing and hybrid fishing absolutely made me 100% believer in seaguar line. 6 or 8 pound test for your leader. I'm going to run this green fluorocarbon just so you guys can see it a little bit better. That 8 pound seaguar, you're not going to be able to see it all on the video. That stuff is super, super clear. It's awesome line. I've got the P-line fluorocarbon. I think I've got some of the colored. I know I got some of the K9 I'll have here in a couple weeks. I just tie my mono leader on right to the bottom of that swivel. So, you can minnow fish on this rig. I never do. If I'm slip cork fishing, I want that rig moving. I had a real long leader there, so I bit a little bit of it off. These 2 colors right here, pretty well. If I was going to go today in this clear water we have and start slip cork fishing, right there would be 2 of my first jigs I put on, just to give it a try. Clear water, I like lighter colors. On trimming in that clear water, that red and silver was really good. The albino shad and the Bobby Garland was really good. Anything, I don't get caught up a lot on brands. I sell a lot of different brands in the shop. 90% of that is in your head. It's what you want to work. There's a million different crappie jig companies out there now, as most of you crappie fishermen know. Every single one of them is going to catch fish if you got it in your head that it's going to catch fish. My go-to used to be the Slab Hunter. I poured them in the old bait shop I was in for years. Was real good friends with the guy that come out with them. It's the same thing as that Slab Buster, just a flat tail crappie jig. I've used them since I was a kid, so that's kind of still my go-to. It's been in my head, they work, why change? The Bobby Garland, they're always going to catch fish. Harms lures are always going to catch fish. The old tube jigs. When I was a real little kid, that's all we fished with until they came out with the Slab Buster and Slab Hunters. And we caught just tons of fish on the old little Hustler tube jigs. They still work. So, basically, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tie this bottom jig on here. I tied just a simple fisherman's knot on that. With it being mono, you ain't got to tie anything fancy. So, get that little pigtail. There's my first jig. Okay. This you're not going to get right from the video. I get hundreds of people in my shop a year show me how to tie that knot. I tie a looper knot. When I was a kid, some people called it an okie knot. Some people called it a double blood knot. Basically, it's a looper knot. Put your second jig on. When I'm catfishing, I put my hook on with it. It's got a lot of purposes in the fishing. Double minnow rigs for spider rigging. Same knot I use. So, you're not going to be able to see it with this clear line, but I was hoping with this dark red shirt on you might be able to see it. But basically, you make an upside down loop. I twist them about 7 times. 7 to 8 times, something like that. Pull the bottom through. Just like that, there's your looper knot. So, there's that top jig I said I was going to use. A lot of you guys that have heard me talk about crappie fishing, I am huge on pink jig head, pink albino shad jig. Wintertime in clear water, springtime in clear water, that's extremely hard to beat. Now, if I can see, I ain't got my glasses on here, so I just run that right through the eye of that. There's your top jig on a double jig rig right there. It swims off to the side, swims free. It's not right on your line. Now, like I said, that big cork, I've got 2 1/8-ounce jig heads on there. Wintertime, a lot of time, I'll run a 1/4 on the bottom just to keep it deeper, keep it from wrapping up when you cast if there's any wind. And I'll run a wider jig on the top. Springtime, I'll run 2 1/8, 2 1/16, don't matter. This big cork is not going to stand upright. 2 1/8 is going to float it right about there. Half that cork's going to be out of the water. I don't like it. I want that water set right on that white. That way when that raises up, if you see any white at all, you know to set the hook. If it goes down to that line, you set the hook. Like I said, I'm going blind. I got to wear glasses to see it. If I'm not wearing my glasses, I will miss a ton of crappie on this rig. You got enough leader there in between that top jig and that cork. Get you some split shot. Add split shot until you set that cork where you want it. Most of the time, 2 split shot with 2 1/8-ounce jig heads. 2 just like 1/8-ounce. You know, you get 1/2 ounce of weight on there. That's going to set that cork just about perfect usually. You can get some smaller split shot, get 2 different sizes. If you want to be exact with where you want it. I'm not about being exact. I'm kind of just go with it. If I can get it real close to that, I can see that bite. That's about all I've really got for the slip cork rig. Wintertime slip cork fishing, early spring before that water warms up. That's about the only time I'll use crappie nibbles. I do use crappie nibbles a lot on this rig. Color, you know, that's one of the deals. I don't really think it matters on that. I do think that when them crappie are finicky, sometimes that crappie nibble does help. Pretty well, that is all I can think of. I'm going to show you guys real quick how to tie that dental floss in that line. I'm going to do it on a different piece of line though. I'm not going to do it on this rod. I'm going to have people in the shop today that are going to want to see how to rig that after I post it, get this video posted. Let me grab some line here. What I grabbed was a green piece of braid. Just pretend this is your wax dental floss. You're not going to be able to hardly see that line at all. I will try to get it to where you can see it. So basically, if you're going to try to run the dental floss as you're not, what you're going to do, there's that upside down loop again I talked about in that looper knot. So you're going to make that upside down loop. You got your 2 strands going up and down facing you. See that? You got a loop. You're going to run that dental floss through there. Like I said, this is a lot harder. This line's thick that I'm using. I can't wrap it as much as I would the dental floss. Dental floss, I'll wrap 7 or 8 times. I wrap this 4. Just make you a hard knot in it. Pull it tight. Pull that clear mono tight. So, the dental floss, I would make 1 more just flat out hard knot in. This line's thick, like I said. I'm going to do it just so you can see it. There's another hard knot in that, okay? Look at that. See how easy that slides? Just like that. Don't really kink your line up hardly at all. That right there is my go-to on my slip corks. Like I said, you come in the shop, I can show you more of that. I'm not going to answer a ton of questions on Facebook, you guys. Not going to answer a ton of questions on this video. I do this stuff to try to help you guys. I try to get people in the shop, ask questions, help support my shop. So, a lot of you guys live out of town. I understand that. I do. If I can answer a question quick, but I'm not going to answer 50 different questions on this. Most of you guys do come down here to the lake. You can come in the shop, ask them questions. It's so much simpler on these knots actually being able to show you in person. I can tell people repeatedly how to do it online. It doesn't help. There's a lot of videos, other people's videos that probably use these same exact knots. They'll probably help you out some, maybe. They might go more in depth of just how to tie that knot. But we can show you in the shop how to do it real quick. So that's what I would suggest doing. Now I'm going to kind of roll into something different. Right now, cold water walleye. Below the dam here is a lot like Bagnall. You get some of these other dams. A lot of people throw jerk baits, throw stuff like that, rogues. We'll throw suspending floating lures for walleye. You get hung up here so much, don't use that stuff, you guys. So, I hope you rig up a different rod here. Basically, 10-pound braid. If the water's dirty at all, you can tie straight to that. My suggestion would be run that fluorocarbon leader. The water's clear right now, or semi-clear. Run that fluorocarbon for walleye. So, something new I kind of got in for some of the walleye guys. I know they'll use them a bunch. 3/16, if they're running any water at all, that 3/16 is super, super popular. It gets you down where you need to be in the current. I've got a couple different styles jigs in that. If they're not running any water, throw an 8. You don't have to get down that fast. A lot of walleye don't hit because they're hungry. They're hitting because something, it's a reaction. Something goes by them and it's a reaction to grab it. So, if they see anything wrong with it, they're not going to eat it. So, 3/16, 8, a 1/16 if there's no current at all and you're not fishing real deep. My biggest thing, I used to throw 1/8 ounce. If at nighttime when they wasn't running water, daytime I'd throw that 3/16 or a quarter. You can just tie to that braid with a small swivel. Run your fluorocarbon leader. I'm gonna grab a different jig head. I'm not gonna open that up. Well, I don't even really need to do that. Basically, same rig as that crappie rig. Put your mono leader on there. I'm going to talk about jig size for walleye. Right now, that water's super cold. It's freezing over as soon as the wind quits blowing and they shut the water off. You're going to want to throw something really small. So your go-tos for walleye fishing is slender swim baits. Whether it be the sliders, the Charlie Brewer. This last year, the Kitex have been absolutely huge for walleye down here. And a lot of other lakes. The smaller Crush City stuff will work. What's good about this is, it's a swim bait. You can cut that wherever you want it. You can make it however long you want it. The slider, you can pinch them ribs off. Use half of it if you want. You can change that profile. Same way with this. If you want to change that profile, pinch off a 1/4 inch of it or 1/2 inch and put it on. Really, really simple to use. Crappie jigs. Honestly, early in the winter, January, December, when I was walleye fishing a lot down below the dam, I used to catch a ton of them down there. I didn't use this stuff. Not early. I would run, just like the slab hunters, a small curly tail, something, 2 inch, 1.5 to 2.5 inch. That was kind of my go-to until that water started to warm up. Usually about the 1st of March, 2nd week of March, when that water temperature starts to come up, that's when I'd jump over to these swim baits or bigger curly tail or something in that lines. And then you'd work it a little bit faster. Keep it moving. You want to bounce it off the bottom. You're going to get hung up a ton. Most of you guys that walleye fish down there know it is extremely frustrating. You might go down there, cast all day, not get bit, have somebody walk down 5 foot from you, throw one time and catch a walleye. That's just the name of the game down there. You have to have it where they want it, and you have to have a color that's going to get that reaction bite out of them. The last 2 years, it's been anything with glitter in it. I don't know why, that clear water, I think they key in on that glitter a little bit. Dirtier water, darker colors, always a go-to for people, white and chartreuse. Some of you guys probably use the Spike It. When I was walleye fishing a lot, I was huge on that Spike It with the garlic scent in it. I do have some in here. Not many people use it anymore. We used to use it all the time, but now there's so many color variations of jigs, you don't need it. I used to take a white curly tail, a white slider, a small white sassy shad, anything like that, dip the tail in it. Chartreuse, pink, red. That's how I caught most of my walleye, was coming up with something a little bit different than what everybody else was throwing. Now, pretty well you got colors for everything. Not many people do it. A few of the old guys down below the dam still use a Spike It, catch a lot of fish on it. They got a marker, they got a dip. Hold on just a second, I'll show you what I'm talking about here. So, hot pink, one of my favorite colors for fishing. Walleye, same way. Used a ton of it. That's the Spike It right there. It's got a garlic scent to it. You get it on your hands, you'll smell like garlic all day. A lot of time I just dip the paddle tail or the curly tail in it a little bit and use white with a tip, just a tip of pink, or you might dip the head in pink. Not much different than a pink jig head, but a little bit. You can get a little bit more of a color variation. One guy that's probably caught more walleye down there than anything. He's big on this stuff. He used a plain lead jig head because he said he was going to get it hung up anyways. No sense in using anything fancy. Use a plain lead head. Dip the head of your jig in that. It worked. I mean, like I said, he's probably caught more walleye down there than anybody I know. Live bait for walleye ain't real popular down there off the rocks. When I was a kid, my dad, he caught some absolute monster walleye on crawdads, actually. Usually March. He used to go up to the minnow hatchery when they'd first start getting crawdads, get some. He caught some monster walleye on them, but I tried it, 20 years ago. There's so much line down there in the rocks now. Them crawdads, they burrow in them rocks, get you hung up now. It's almost impossible. Still see a few guys will try to run like big minnows. Off the rocks, I wouldn't waste my time with it. Get some jigs, keep that jig moving. That's the best advice I can give you. Work it one way, don't get bit, work it another way. Bounce it off the rocks. A lot of time, if you run that braid, you can feel them rocks. Or kind of get your timing right. When you feel it start to bump a rock, jig it up, let it fall right before you think it's going to hit again, jig it back up. That'll keep it a couple foot up off bottom, keep you from getting hung up as bad. Sometimes they'll hit it a couple foot up off bottom. Sometimes you got to be smacking the rocks with that jig head to catch them. You're going to get hung up no matter where you fish down there off the rocks. The riprap in the harbor, a little bit later in the winter, there will be quite a few walleye come off that riprap down there. You don't get hung up quite as bad. Sometimes there's a lot of people there, sometimes not. Just kind of varies. There's been some walleye caught over in the dead water before it iced back up, just on crappie jigs, a few on small swim baits. That's kind of where when that water's real cold, a lot of them will move over to that dead water, get out of the current. As soon as that water starts to warm up, they'll all shoot up the rocks. Walleye spawn around 42 to 46 degrees, somewhere in there. Right now, I would say our water's 32 to 34. It's cold. So start off small as that water temperature warms up. Work into a bigger jig. Nighttime, when that water temperature warms up, rattle traps. Walleye love them. Be prepared to throw away a whole lot of money if you try that. It does catch fish. You'll catch some big fish. I actually caught a couple walleye off this. You can tell that thing's got bite marks all over it. It is chewed to pieces. That one there is actually caught walleye on Truman while I was hybrid fishing on it. I think actually it's got one bent hook right there. I caught a catfish on it. That chrome is really hard to beat. Fire tiger. Really, whatever. The fire tiger in dirty water, clear water, I would run the chrome and black, chrome and purple, chrome and blue. Like I said, that will get expensive unless you're somewhere you're not going to get hung up a whole lot. I don't know what else I can tell you really on the walleye. We pretty well have anything you'd need for walleye fishing, crappie fishing, white bass hybrids, catfish. I haven't started ordering stuff for catfishing yet. It's been real slow. I do have quite a bit in here. I've got some of the catfish spinners I've been making. I'm going to say one thing real quick I wasn't going to. You guys, I come up with this idea last winter, worked on it all winter, worked a lot of different ways of rigging this up. Caught an absolute ton of fish and a lot of big fish on these. I've already seen 3 or 4 different lure companies out there trying to copy this. If you guys support me, do not buy these from anybody else. Because come in my shop and buy these. We do ship some when I have enough made up. I've got quite a few made up now without the hook on it. I've got several made up with a hook on them. I'll try to keep them in stock a little bit better this year. A lot of guys that wanted them last summer, I wasn't using them. I was busy hybrid fishing. I didn't have a lot made up. I would make some up right here in the shop for them if I was in here. That's kind of something I'd messed with. I wasn't big on the demon dragons. Didn't seem like I caught any more fish on them. I put the blade on there, instantly started catching more fish. Guys that fished in current with them, just fishing a wind-blown bank bite, they work awesome. So, if you can, support us on that. Don't buy them on an online store that's selling them. I've seen 2 different online tackle companies trying to sell them already. They made them a little bit different, but one of them deals. That's why I didn't get a patent on it. All somebody's got to do is change it just a little bit, and then they're going to be selling them themselves. So, I don't know. Kind of irritating, but ain't nothing you can do about it. So, I appreciate it, y'all. Thanks for watching this video. I know it's a little bit longer than most of my videos. Actually, over 30 minutes. Probably the longest video I've ever done. But hopefully it helps some of you bank fishermen. This same stuff will work at Smithville. It'll work all over the U.S. Anywhere there's crappie, below Bagnell Dam. I know guys that slip cork fish, same rigs down there. Walleye fish with the same rigs down there. Below the dam here. There's some areas up on Truman. We used to slip cork fish all winter and catch crappie. You know, now, the biggest thing I see on the internet, well, I ain't got live scope. I'm stuck bank fishing. I can't catch any fish. You guys, there's as many crappie to be caught off the bank as there is out of a boat. Some places you just got to walk to a little bit further. Down below the dam, it kind of goes seasonal with the dead water iced up. You know, it's hard to slip cork fish over there right now. If I was going to fish today, they're running water right now. I would probably try to walleye fish off the rocks. You might catch some white bass, maybe a hybrid, maybe a walleye. Most of the crappie right now are going to be in the old channel. Hopefully it's supposed to be 40s today, 50s tomorrow. Hopefully all that ice will be gone, and by Monday or Tuesday you guys can be using some of this ideas and catching some fish over there. So I appreciate it again. Thank you all. Come in the shop, support us if you can. If not, just support us on here. You know, watch videos, share the information, tell your friends. Hey, swing in there. They can give you information, help you get started catching fish. That's all you got to do. I appreciate it, y'all. Thank you. Have a good one.